मुल्तान की ख्वातीन के लिए इस रमज़ान और ईद के मौके पर खूबसूरत तरीन डिज़ाइन वाले सूट्स, टू पीस, थ्री पीस और शर्ट्स बहुत ही दिलकश और खुशनुमा रंगों में दस्तयाब हैं। सिर्फ ख्वाहिशमंद ख्वातीन ही वीडियो में दिए गए नंबर पर व्हाट्सएप कर सकती हैं। कॉल अटेंड नहीं की जा सकती। शुक्रिया। आपके ताअवुन का शुक्रिया। इस उर्दू मेज़ के बाद आप सुन सकते हैं घरेलू ख्वातीन का पाकिस्तान की मुआशी तरक्की में किरदार पर अंग्रेजी में मज़मून का इक़्तिबास।
Work. Women recognize that their household activities have value, although they would likely be surprised at the magnitude of their economic worth. The researchers calculated that if such household tasks as cooking, cleaning, and sewing were outsourced, it would cost Pak. Rupees 4,000 per month for a single household in urban areas, equivalent to Pak. Rupees 48,000 per year, or $8,002 United States dollars. For a rural household, the figure is Pak Rupees 2,150 per month, which is 25,800 rupees per annum, equal to 430 United States dollars. Such generalizations fail to take into account that the typical wage rate for each task is different in different geographical areas because of varying levels of poverty and inflation. But one finding is universal: women spend most of their waking hours engaged in work of high value to families and society. The results of the research indicate that women across the country are contributing $37.55 billion United States dollars, or 23.3% of GDP. Demographic statistics provide a snapshot of the effects of discrimination against women. The sex ratio in Pakistan was estimated in 2008 at 105 males to every 100 females. World Fact Sheet, the 19th of June 2008, compared to a world average of 111 females to every 100 males. This is largely attributed to nutritional anemia, which affects most females in the country largely as a result of discrimination against girls and women in the sharing of food as per the common South Asian practice of women eating after the men and children. This means that women are generally given less food and often have to make do with leftovers. The Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, 2009, and of Knots and Weaves. Indian and Pakistani women connect across borders, 1996. In addition, according to Globalist 3, under 5 mortality rates are far higher among females, 135 deaths per 1,000 live births, than among males, 121 deaths per 1,000 live births. Because of the lower resistance of their underfed bodies, women are more susceptible to potentially fatal diseases such as malaria, gastroenteritis, and respiratory diseases, particularly tuberculosis. Repeated pregnancies can also take a heavy toll on women's resistance to disease. Boys are generally better nourished than girls and have a lower prevalence of growth failure. During illness, parents incur expense to seek health care for boys more often than for girls, leading to higher mortality amongst girls. The condition of women who do not hold a wage-earning job outside the home is aggravated both physically and psychologically by their confinement within the four walls of their homes. They get little sunshine or fresh air and no recreation, while men typically face far fewer restrictions. While the role and status of women in Pakistan is changing quite rapidly, traditional ideas still remain. While many women now have paid jobs outside the home, this practice is still considered odd. International experience has demonstrated that educated girls are more likely than uneducated ones to be knowledgeable about their rights and thus to try to exercise them. They also may be more likely to question negative assumptions and be reluctant to accept everything imposed by their family, elders, or head of the family. But such girls receive little if any support from the social environment in Pakistan. Many families are of the view that there is little benefit in continuing girls' education, as girls would be unlikely to find a decent job and in any case after marriage their earnings would not benefit their parents for. As soon as girls reach puberty, they typically stop going to school and their families marry them off. Even for girls with high ambitions, it is very difficult to find a decent job. So they are forced to accept household work as their sole or main occupation. Among other criticisms the Pakistani education system faces is the gender disparity in enrollment levels. On the bright side, some progress has been made in recent years in trying to address this problem. In 1990–91, the female-to-male ratio of enrollment was 0.47 for primary education. It reached 0.74 in 1999–2000, an increase of 57% within one decade. For the middle level of education it was 0.42 at the start of the decade and increased to 0.68 by the end of the decade. An improvement of almost 62%. In both cases, gender disparity decreased significantly, and relatively more rapidly at the middle level. Even so, disparity remained relatively high. The gender disparity in enrollment in secondary education was 0.4 in 1990–91 and 0.67 in 1999–2000, for a decrease in disparity of 67%. At the college level, the figures were 0.50 in 1990–91 and 0.81 in 1999–2000, or a 64% decrease in gender disparity. The term full-time housewife refers to women who work in their own home all day without pay. Although a full-time housewife does a number of tasks at home, her work is not counted as part of the gross national product and, since it is unpaid, is not recognized in the same way that paid work is. The majority of women in Pakistan, 79.4%, are labeled as housewives. While women who work outside the home receive an average salary of 6,000 rupees per month, the housewife receives nothing and is considered to contribute little or nothing to her family or society. She is also not entitled to any of the benefits that come with paid employment. Pakistani housewives are generally dependent on the males in their families for their subsistence. Due to their relatively lower educational levels and fewer formal job skills, the resulting lack of employment opportunities, and lack of acceptance of women earning a living. Since most women have attained only low levels of formal education, they are not qualified for higher-level jobs. They are restricted both by family and societal expectations that prevent them from reaching a higher level of either education or employment. In Pakistani society, different roles are ascribed to males and females to a greater degree than in many other cultures. It is apparent from these prescribed roles and responsibilities that males, being the head of family and custodian of their rights, enjoy more autonomy, rights, and power than do women. Men themselves decide what is right and wrong for their family members according to societal views. Men provide the basic necessities, in terms of purchases, to the family and are mainly responsible for earning a livelihood. Virtually all the decision-making power within the home is held by men. Even when it pertains to the health and well-being of women and children. Women working at home thus are dependent on their husbands or other male family members and have little or no control over their own decisions or family matters. They have virtually no decision-making power in the family. Where women do work outside the home, they are seen as contributing to the family economy and thus have some, albeit limited, decision-making power in the family, including in financial matters. Such women are typically more assertive and confident than housewives. Although the study was limited to only a small portion of the culturally diverse nation of Pakistan, this is unlikely to have a major effect on the results. Across study sites, differences were seen in the nature of tasks but not in the overall number of hours spent on work. In short, women throughout Pakistan work long days and perform many important tasks. A far larger and more representative study would thus have been unlikely to yield much more substantive information than was already collected. Most of the women participating in the study were aged between 20 and 39. Most, 74.3%, were married and living in a nuclear family consisting of 5 or fewer family members, husband, wife and children. In addition to performing tasks in their homes, women also directly take part in economic activities, whether paid or not. 1/4 of the female respondents were illiterate or only basically literate. Only 1 in 10 had higher education. The formal employment status of interviewed women reveals that only 1/5 of the respondents held formal jobs. Pakistani women perform a range of household work that includes cooking, washing,